One.
Hi, I'm Braden Finfer, along here with Chase and JJ, and welcome to our fantasy football show. It's where we talk about all things fantasy football. And so today we have the top three players at each fantasy football position. So, Chase, would you like to give us your top three quarterbacks?
My top three quarterbacks are Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Ben Roethlisberger because they're all Pro Bowl type of quarterbacks.
I have Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Drew Brees. Drew Brees always ends up leading the league in passing yards. Even though he lost Brandon Cooks, he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league and will always be.
Okay, and I have Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Marcus Mariota. I know that might surprise you, but I think he'll have a great year this year. I think he'll get a lot of yards in passing and rushing, and I think he'll have a breakout year. So for running backs, Chase, your running backs?
My number one running back is Le'Veon Bell. Then at number two, I have Adrian Peterson on his new team with the New Orleans Saints. And then my number three is second year, Ezekiel Elliott.
So my three running backs, I have Le'Veon Bell, then I have David Johnson, who's for sure the top target there in Arizona, and Ezekiel Elliott.
Okay, and I've got my number one running back. I've got Ezekiel Elliott, and then my number two, I actually got DeMarco Murray, and my number three, I got Le'Veon Bell. And Chase, your wide receivers?
My number one wide receiver is Antonio Brown. My number two wide receiver is Julio Jones, and my number three receiver is Odell Beckham.
So for my receivers, I have Antonio Brown, Julio Jones. I also have T.Y. Hilton. He led the league in receiving yards last year, and he's the top target there. So I think he'll continue to get the workload.
Okay, now I got Antonio Brown, number one, Julio Jones, number two, and Odell Beckham, number three. And tight ends?
My number one tight end is Rob Gronkowski. My number two tight end is Travis Kelce, and my number three tight end is Tyler Eifert.
All right, so for my top end tight ends, I have Rob Gronkowski. Then I have Greg Olsen, who's probably Cam Newton's favorite target. And then I also have Delaney Walker, who's always very consistent.
Okay, so I've got Rob Gronkowski. I think he'll have a good year bouncing back off of an injury. I think he'll be fully healthy, and I think he can play his best. And for my number two, I've got Greg Olsen, and number three, I've got Tyler Eifert. So now for team defense.
My top three defenses are the Chiefs, the Seahawks, and the Denver Broncos.
All right, so my defenses, I have the Broncos. Then I have the Panthers, who are always force turnovers. Then I actually have the Texans. They always come through. Their pass rushing is amazing. And then their secondary forces lots of turnovers, which definitely helps them win some games.
Okay, and I've got my number one, the Broncos, number two, Seahawks, and number three, Chiefs. And for the sleepers, Chase, who are your sleepers?
My sleepers are Martellus Bennett, who's joining the Packers, and Aaron Rodgers, who can make him look really good. And I also have Jonathan Stewart and Jimmy Graham.
My sleepers, I have Devontae Parker. He was injured a lot last year, but he'll come back. He'll be a solid flex position player with playing with Jarvis Landry and Kenny Stills. And then I have Willie Snead. Him and Michael Thomas will be the top targets with Brandon Cooks gone. And then I have Martavis Bryant, who was suspended all of last year, and instantly comes back to the number two wide receiver spot and will be there late in drafts.
Okay, and I've got Matthew Stafford. I think he will have a good year this year after the Lions playoff run last year. I think he will have better targets to pass to, and I think he'll have a bounce back year. And I think Todd Gurley, after a rough last year, he will bounce back. He will work. He will go to a lot of training this offseason, and he will regain his former abilities. And I actually think Phillip Rivers could have a nice year this year. Excuse me. And because I know he is getting old, but he could have one more nice year, and he could be in like the top 15 most passing yards. And Chase, for top rookies,
Okay. For the later rounds, I have Chris Godwin, wide receiver, drafted by the Buccaneers, drafted 84th overall from Penn State. And I also have Curtis Samuel, who's a wide receiver, drafted by the Panthers in the 2nd round from Ohio State.
JJ.
So I have one rookie who I'm really high on this year. And that's Wayne Gallman, who was drafted by the Giants. The Giants haven't had like a real running back in a long time, and him and Paul Perkins will have the workload that takes some pressure off Eli Manning.
And for my rookies, I got Deshaun Watson. I think he'll lead the Texans like he did in Clemson, and I think he'll have a nice rookie year and he'll be a contender for Rookie of the Year. I think O.J. Howard from Alabama, drafted by the Bucks. I think he'll have a pretty good year. He'll get some yards, and then my third choice is John Ross, and he's a wide receiver from Washington and drafted by the Bengals. And he's not the main wide receiver, but later in his career he could definitely become the key wide receiver. And that's all we have time for today, and that's it.